Okay, so what I want you guys to do is look at the cover of your book right here, and without reading the back, and we want to look at what we see. And then I showed you a cover of an older version of the book, and this one's a little harder to see, but we got a picture of some boys here. Can you see that a little better? And down here we talked about the picture. It looks like, what did we say? A city, right? Okay. So as we're reading our book, at the end of each chapter, we are going to stop and we're going to fill in these charts. Now, does it look like it's going to be a lot of writing? No, it's not. So we do not have room to write complete sentences. We're going to write down what we call bullet points. Okay? So before we can start with our chart, our active reading, we have to understand what it is we're looking for. So we haven't read the book yet. All we've done is looked at the cover. The very first chart asks us to predict what is going to happen. So what I want you to do, and bullet points look like this. We make a little dot and we predict what we think this book is going to be about. Who has an idea of a prediction? Jennifer. Going to be a fight. So I'm going to write that phrase. And what gave you the idea there was going to be a fight?
Because they're gangs. So
How do you know they're gangs? By looking at the cover of the picture.
yeah.
How do you know it's a gang? By looking at the cover of the book.
Because of the leather jacket.
Because of the leather jacket. So kids in gangs wear leather jackets. Tiffany.
I think that there's going to be like a war between the social fights. Because it says right here at the bottom, a war between social classes.
Okay, so you're picking up on some of the information that's on the document, but what I asked you to do was just predict from the cover picture. Okay, so good for you for looking at other things, but just by looking at the cover, what do we predict? Tori?
Bad boys.
Bad boys, all right. So we're going to say they're bad boys. And you think the jacket and the way the other cover was depicted gives us that idea. So does everybody understand how we're going to write bullet points in these boxes? All right. Now I'm going to tell you right now that when you write in these boxes, I'm going to be exceptionally fussy and I'm going to take points off if you do not capitalize people's names. All names deserve capital letters. It tells us they're important. The reason I'm making a big issue of this is some of the characters' names are names like Ponyboy and Soda. So we wouldn't think those names need capital letters, but they're names of people. They have to have capital letters. So if you do not put capital letters, I'm taking points off your score. Do I make myself clear?
Yep.
Okay. Now, before we read chapter 1, we need to do the prediction. So I'm going to give you just a minute to write a few more bullet points, but let me share with you what the rest of the journal looks like. After we read chapter 1, we go to the next box. What have I learned? In other words, what are the facts, the things that I know from chapter 1? Notice it says facts with an S, meaning there needs to be several. Then I go to this box. What don't I understand yet? It's a question. So this is a complete sentence, but it's a question. So for example, I might not understand, why is it that Ponyboy and Soda Pop have those names? Those are weird names. Okay? So that might be my question. Do you understand what I'm asking you to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to ask a question based on the information you have from that chapter. It can be a question about what you think is going to happen next, or it can be a question about something in the story that you don't understand yet. Okay? The last box says opinion. How do I feel about what I've read? This is very important. Listen up. Number 1, do not write that you feel happy, sad, fine. Do not write that it's a good story, it's a sad story, it's a funny story. How do I feel about what I've read? I want you to target a specific thing in the chapter and tell me how it makes you feel. Okay? I didn't like it when Daryl yelled when Derry yelled at Ponyboy because, and you're going to write it that way. So, bullet points, question in a complete sentence, how I feel in a complete sentence, all within this box. And this sentence has to have the word because in it. This one has to have a question mark. This one has to have this because in the story this. Level of understanding right now. Okay. Now, before you read chapter 2, before you even open the chapter, you have to do the prediction. You don't need to predict the whole book. Just what do you think is going to happen in the next chapter? So we do this prediction, then we read the chapter, then we do the boxes. Got it? Okay. Last thing. We're going to talk about what the word tough, T-U-F-F, means on Monday. But this is what we call tough talk. So I'll go over this part on Monday. Don't do anything with the tough talk until Monday. You with me so far? Okay. Now, let me